and welcome to No Such Thing as a Bad Movie podcast. I'm April Atmansky, and I'm here today with...
Justin DeClue!
And Colin Cunningham. Sorry, I was just belching there for a second.
Oh, sorry. I thought we had lost you for a moment because you had a fever. A rat scratch fever!
Wow! That was Colin Cunningham?
Yeah, so...
Wait, no, that was me. April, do you have the fever as well? Rat scratch fever?
Not to be confused with Cat Scratch Fever, the Ted Nugent song.
Also, our cat is playing in the background. I'm sorry if you hear him.
Also, the fever. Now, this is funny. You told me about this movie just the other night, Justin. You're like, we're watching this movie. So I Googled it, and nothing about the movie came up. The only results I got were actually about rat scratch fever.
And did you read it? What does it involve?
What can you tell us about rat scratch fever?
What the symptoms?
Yeah.
I don't know if you get it from the infection from the claws, like all the dirt and stuff like that.
And you start to hear the song like da 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 da.
That's Smoke on the Water.
Yeah. What am I thinking of? I'm like cat scratch fever. No, still Smoke on the Water.
That is how it goes. Cat scratch fever.
Yeah.
Okay,
something
that's
like
right.
that. It's very similar.
I wouldn't be surprised if fucking Ted Nugent, that piece of shit, ripped off.
So I was trying to think of, like, when I told you guys, let's watch this movie, how I came across it, and I don't remember. The director is a guy I've known for a long time, not personally, but he has been making movies for 20 years, and essentially the way that I would describe it is like, imagine a small boy is given all this stuff and you're like, all right, go make a movie. And he's like, okay, sure. Doesn't care how cheap it looks and just wants to throw as much stuff as he can at the screen at once. That is the cinema of Jeff Leroy, who has made such films as A Werewolf in a Woman's Dormitory,
Dracula in a woman's prison.
Dormitory, yeah, Dracula in a woman's prison.
Grand Auto Theft.
Predator World is one of his.
Aliens versus Titanic.
Not Grand Theft Auto. Grand
Auto Theft.
Yeah, Hell's Highway. All his films kind of have the same look that Rat Scratch Fever has, which is digital. If I had to take a guess, I would bet this was shot on a DVX 100, the Panasonic camera.
Well, it came out in 2011, but it's in 4:3. Why is that? Just because...
Probably because they had a cheap camera, but it does have, it definitely has a built-in lens because there's a bunch of crash zooms in the movie that are not digital zooms. So
Okay. Well, I shot stuff on, I think it might have been the same camera.
The DVX 100 was like the big kind of popular model that Panasonic put out, and that became like the 200, DVX 200. Maybe it had like kind of different naming system, but that was the next one afterwards, which people when I was in college were using.
But it was progressive, right? It was 23.
Yeah, it was
24?
progressive. I mean, that's what everybody was tricked by, which was like, it's 24, it looks like film. And you just have to look at like a second of it. You're like, it doesn't look like film.
No, I remember shooting a music video on that, and we had to, it was 4:3, so we had to mask it. But, because there were I don't think HD TVs were around back then, maybe?
Yeah, I'm looking here at the Wikipedia page, and that makes sense as well, is that it was a 3CCD image sensor, which everybody thought was a big deal, but its native aspect ratio was 4:3, and you couldn't get a different one than that.
Yeah, and I remember when we were shooting the video, I had my monitor, and it was a 4:3, and I actually had to tape paper to the monitor to mask it off.
That's the way the pros do it.
Everybody was doing that. They're like, we need it to look cinematic in widescreen. But I would also guess that he's shooting in this format because it's only going to go direct to DVD at the time of its release.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's shooting, this is like one of the best parts of the movie. I'm just going to say it's my favorite part right off the top. Miniatures that when you see them the first time, you're like, is he just using stock footage from other movies? That's
what
not.
I thought. Yeah.
They are miniatures. He shot himself on 16 millimeter because he could get proper slow motion.
Okay, because the intro of the movie, so we start out on Planet X. And
how is it not Planet R? It's right there.
Planet X sounds sexy.
Yep.
Yeah. What is it like orbiting? It's like an elliptical orbit around Mars or something. It comes around.
Yeah, there's a bunch of information that doesn't matter.
Something
that
like
shows
that.
Up. Yeah.
But the miniatures in this sequence, and right off the bat, like, I kind of love the movies. Like the very first shot, it's like, okay, this guy likes models. They look really cheap. But then later on in the movie, all of a sudden the models start looking better. and I 100%, I'm like, this looks like something out of Thunderbirds, like a Jerry Anderson TV show.
I think it's just shooting it on film makes it look like that. And I thought the same thing, which I was like, okay, he's using stock footage, maybe something he shot earlier, but I was looking at his credits. He shot almost everything he's done, except for one movie called The Unseen Force 2, aka Alien 3000. That one was shot on film, but all his other films are shot on like very early digital or, as it's evolved formats.
Yeah, it's so weird. I thought for sure it was going to be stock or from some other movie because it just didn't match the look of the rest of the film.
But then there's so much of it that's interacting with what's happening on screen.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, did he write the movie around the logo that was already on the stock?
Because we thought that spaceship outside the rocket launch, that was stock.
Definitely
but then
Thunderbird.
everything just starts exploding.
Yeah, but then you see a truck with like Steel Space Corporation logo on the side. I'm like, okay, did he must have written the script around that, like the stock footage, but then
apparently
I guess
not. No.
All
Wow,
original,
that's
kind
impressive.
of his thing. Like even in a urban action film that he made called Crack in the early 2000s, which is as politically correct as it sounds, it's still filled with like cities exploding and stuff like that.
Jesus
he loves
Christ.
his miniatures.
the end of this is insane.
It's like a fever dream. It feels like you're having a stroke. But let's jump at the beginning.
fever.
We're on this planet, and we start media res with a bunch of scientists, I assume, / astronauts being chased through a, I'm going to say like haunted house / guy's
Haunted
garage.
house hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a combo.
It's a set.
Yeah,
I did read online that the stuff on the alien planet was shot in a porno studio.
yeah.
I believe it.
On a set in a
Aren't
porno
all
studio.
our homes porno studios, ladies and gentlemen?
It can be.
There's like 3 items of trivia on IMDb for this, and one of them is that the scenes on the alien planet were shot in a porn studio. So there you go.
And I think that people's reaction when they see a film like this, very logical, which is, it looks so cheap. And it does. Like
It
the
does.
matting is all over the place.
Oh yeah. It's like student level. Student
normal
level,
rats.
like After Effects work.
It's better than student level.
Yeah, I would say that
much
normal
better.
size rats are running around, and you're supposed to believe that they're giant rats. But then I would also say that look even at the planet. There is so much stuff to make it look like a planet that even as a filmmaker myself, I'm like, oh my God, that must have cost so much to buy all that stuff at the dollar store.
Well, like all the work that went into the miniature buildings and then the planet, and then there's like this rocky surface.
There's so many layers and elements.
Like this guy clearly is good at making miniatures.
And like while we say that
explosions.
it's like student level After Effects stuff, there's also so much of it, and it's used
so
in really
much.
fun ways that you're not like, it's this again. It's like every time there's something new, you're like, I can't believe he did that.
Well, this did remind me, speaking of student films, of Rise of the Animals.
Yeah.
But it's like that times like 100. So it's like way just more.
It's absurd.
And there are evil rats in this too. Same thing, right?
Oh God! But then at the end, like he's the only one credited for visual effects.
Oh, he did everything. You know that he's the cameraman.
How did you do this all?
Yeah, and this is like his like 12th or 15th film. I don't know how someone can find the energy to do all this stuff. So in this opening scene, they're running from the rats. It's really funny because the rats that are jumping into frame are often like superimposed rats with glowing red eyes. And they're like ripping people apart, knocking people over, and they're being smashed, and like their heads are being crushed.
They're
and
like
just
keyed
like
into
chaos.
the shot.
Yeah, and it intercut with these gigantic prop rat heads.
That's what was so good about this sequence, but other sequences too, is that yes, we can see that the special effects are not good, but the pace of it is so fast. So you have like half a second of this like superimposed rat, and then you have people being attacked by real like giant rubber rat heads.
I love
And
those
then
giant rat heads. They're big too. Like
They're
you see
really
the human
big.
beings are like, when
And
they're
they
fighting.
had, I think, at least 4 of them. They didn't just have one.
I had my eyes peeled being like, all right, I'm going to count how many are showing up on screen at a time. Either 3 or 4 is what I would say, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like the onslaught of shots and the pace and the editing. It's like you're already on to like the next 10 shots before you have a chance
Do
to
you
kind
think
of...
this guy
Yeah.
is a big Ghost of Mars fan? 'Cause I got like the feel of this in the opening. There's also like a new metal guitar riff.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, you better
behind
believe
it.
April was loving that.
It opened with that might be one of my favorite things is the music, because we all know that a bad movie or B movie, a bad soundtrack can kind of make or break it, especially if it's really really like minimal and repetitive and boring, or if it just sounds like a bunch of stock music. This might have been stock, but it had a very new metal driving kind of beat to it that kind of gets you pumped up.
It wasn't stock. It was actually composed by another no-budget filmmaker called Jay Warfel. Him and the director Jeff Leroy have collaborated a lot. And Jay Warfel made an amazing film called Beyond Dream's Door about like a guy like being haunted by a dream monster, which we could do on the show because it definitely has its own I can't say that word, peculiarities. Got lost at the end there.
That's a weird word.
So this sequence, we can't just describe everything that happens because it's just people being ripped off. You hear a lot of canned sound effects that I recognize from using in my movies, especially like a two crushes one after the other, which is like
that's
Skull
like
Crush number 3.
Pet peeve of April's. Anytime we watch a movie and we hear any kind of like stock sound effect, I always turn to her and she's like, "Oh."
There's only sometimes I like it because it's funny, but I don't. It really bugs me when it's a baby crying or the cat sound. There's the same cat sound effect in every
What
creaky
is the
dog
sound
barking.
effect of the woman that's like, "Arr!" Like you hear it all the time? Like if you heard it, you
I know what
recognize
you're
it
talking
instantly.
about.
There's the squeaky metal door.
Yeah, there's that
The breaking
sound of
pottery.
something igniting that. Remember that was in Haiku all the time, the volleyball anime? And
nope.
I'm
I
talking
hope
to
you're
Colin.
talking to the audience. Me and Colin
anytime-
just staring at you blankly.
I'm just staring blankly.
Anytime a character would get fired up, it would play that sound effect. It's really funny. And there's a lot of things.
It's
that
like the
get set on fire.
Wilhelm scream of explosions.
Yeah, but this
So
movie
that's
has
a
all
volleyball
of
show,
them.
not the one, the anime. Did you ever watch the one where it's like the people eat food and then like orgasm for like minutes on end?
Yeah, totally. That's
I feel like
Food
April
Wars.
watches like 6 shows that are like that.
that show's over. It ended. Shogegeki no Soma is over. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
It's a great,
R.I.P.
great show. It's on
Orgasm
Netflix.
food show.
Haikyuu is also on Netflix. It's about volleyball.
It's like the
Hey,
girl,
we're not
like,
brought
so
to you by
she-
Netflix.
Yeah, she would like eat a piece of shrimp and then her clothes would explode off and like,
And that happens about
Watching the TV show.
20 times per episode.
and it'd always be when I walk
Oh, I thought you
upstairs.
said that April was doing that. Like,
No, it's in the show.
No, my
So,
cooking's not that good.
the hero of Rat Scratch Fever makes it to the spaceship, which kind of looks like a submarine
This is
would
Sonia.
get bashed into a spaceship.
It's like a couch, which shows up later in one of the tanks, but with like a wall with the buttons and the light on.
Is this a-
I
is this a couch in the
love
porn
the
studio?
inside of the spaceship, which
Yeah,
is
it's
like
great.
definitely like his basement.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's like a futon that he covered in a white sheet.
There's a lot of stuff in here that you're like, okay, this is just like his basement or living room that he's put up some like foam walls.
Yes, but then we'll get into it later. But there's a few other sets that are like okay, like the fancy house is what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, there's
we'll
there's
get
2
to it
sets that I
later.
love, but yeah.
And so we get actually a moment of pause here as the woman cries about all of her fallen comrades.
But there's-
Giving you just a little bit of a breather.
But there's one point it looks like she's going to cry, and I'm like, wow, there's going to be acting in this movie, and then she kind of like yawns.
Yeah.
Maybe lets a fart out or something like that.
I mean, the acting of everyone in this movie is basically on the same level, which is not great, but it's fine. I would say
Perfunctory is what they
the
call it.
best actor is
Yeah.
probably either the guy with the steel hands or
Dr. Steele?
Yeah, Dr. Steele.
Christopher Steele?
Yeah, or the boyfriend who I think is named Jake. He's probably the better best
Jake.
actor in the
Well,
movie.
speaking of Dr. Steele, Randall Malone is also in The Amazing Bulk. He was the bad guy in that.
So this movie has 3 actors that are also in The Amazing Bulk, which is a movie I haven't seen, but I've seen lots of
it's
clips
so
from.
bad.
And I tried to find if there was some sort of connection behind the scenes between those 2 movies. I couldn't find if they had like
I
a similar
feel like
producer
it's probably
or director.
just like the zero budget film people all run in the same circles. And I
It's
know
gotta
that
be, yeah.
Jeff Leroy and The Amazing Bulk were also films that were distributed by Wild Eye Entertainment, a like boutique DVD label who does a lot of those. I think they do Polonia Brothers movies as well. So
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, obviously, LA, there's probably like.
I don't think they live in LA, though. I could be mistaken.
Doesn't this take place in California?
Yeah,
It does.
because there's Griffith Observatory at some point.
Oh, is it like actually Griffith's Observatory or a
Yeah,
green
it
screen
is.
Griffith's Observatory?
Well, it's
Okay.
footage
We
of
don't know.
Griffith Observatory.
That could have been
that way.
All right, wait.
Yeah.
We haven't even made it to the
Yeah, we're
opening
jumping
credits,
ahead.
which come 8 minutes into this movie because, rats attack the ship that she's on. She shoots up into space. They burn up. But one of them that she cut the head off in the classic closing the spaceship doors, it's filled with little rats. And we get a lot of this in the movie, which is a classic, the Italian film Rats, Nights of Terror, which is a favorite of mine. Like, the big scare sequences in that is just like someone with a bucket, like pouring rats on somebody, and they're like, ah! And that's what happens here.
Hold on a sec. April's just at the door.
We just paused the podcast for a second because April had to go answer the door, and she got a delivery. And speaking of what the topic of this movie is, you got a cheese delivery.
Oh, yeah. I just realized the irony in
God.
that.
It's like we're just
You got to be
begging.
ratted
It's like we're just begging for rats
I'm
to
gonna
come
open
and
the
attack
box.
us.
I'm gonna open the box, and there's gonna be a big rat in it.
Yeah, it's going to like jump out and bite your face. I mean, this is what is happening to, I guess, our star of the movie. Rats are falling on her, and then one of them goes up her legs and up her vagina.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
wasn't
kinda-
expecting that.
I don't know how they how they did it, but there's like a lump under her pants, and there's like a sound.
Jesus.
Suggested that it
I mean,
goes
that
into her
rat is
vagina.
very nimble because it's going to get all around her body throughout the movie.
Oh God, does it ever?
And then finally we cut to boom, rat scratch fever. Now I should ask you guys, are you scared of rats? Do they like gross you out?
No.
I love rats. I think they're adorable.
I actually
There you go.
babysat when I had a roommate years and years
Rat
ago.
sat.
And yeah, we babysat.
No, don't sit on that rat.
We babysat his girlfriend's 2 rats. I think it was God, who was it? Starsky and Hutch.
That's a cute name.
And yeah, we babysat for like a week, and one was albino, another one was like black. And we would just sit around the house with them on our shoulders. And
Did they ever poo on you? I always wonder
No.
about that.
they just kind of like sat on our shoulders, and then we.
I think the bummer with rats from people that I know that have owned them is they do not live long. They only live like 12 months to 2 years, depending on
Really?
like their species. Yeah.
Oh, because everybody wants to kill them when they see them.
Yeah, that's probably why.
I mean, they're prone to issues, skin issues, other issues, but I just don't think they should be pets, really.
I think the
but-
albino one bled from its eyes from time to time.
Yeah, and they get like
Jesus.
tumors if you like keep them alive really long. I remember a friend having them and that happening to them. I do like the rats in this movie because they're real like honkers. They're like
They
chunky
are
rats.
huge.
Yeah, Colin was like, rats don't get that big, do they? And I was like, yeah, they do. Oh my God, I was in
You ever been to New York?
I was in Kensington Market once, which is like a local place in Toronto, and I saw a rat cross the street, and it was huge. It looked like a dog. It was huge. Maybe
Are you sure?
it was a possum, but like it was like
it was
big and
probably
fat.
a possum.
Was somebody
In
walking in?
Kensington Market, though, a possum?
Yeah, there's possums all over the place. I mean, there's what are those like wild dogs? What are they called?
Dogs? Wild dogs?
Coyotes. Yeah, wild dogs. There was one
Wild
that just
dogs,
walked
wild
by
dogs.
in front of my apartment building, and I was like, "Well, that dog doesn't have a collar." Oh, it's a coyote.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jesus.
there are coyotes in Toronto. I've seen them, but I've never seen a rat other than that one outside.
Are you
Kensington
sure
Market.
it wasn't a trash panda, aka a raccoon?
I know they walk differently though, but no, I'm not sure. It was across the street and it
April
was
is like
raining.
a hunter. She's like,
Yeah.
I can see the animal by the way they walk.
No, I tasted its feces. It didn't taste like
Yeah.
raccoon.
Oh no, do not do that to trash panda stuff. You will die.
Then you get rat scratch fever.
Do you know the weirdest animal that I saw in Toronto was a wild turkey?
That
I
is
was-
pretty weird.
And it was
Those are
on.
usually-
It was on
they're actually
Thanksgiving.
more common in the United States though, like wild turkeys.
This is so bizarre, but this was like right around the corner from my house, and I was coming
Like,
back.
Colin.
It was on Thanksgiving, and I had just gone to the store to get food.
And it's like, it's time for some
Someone
Thanksgiving.
must have had it and it got free.
I don't know. It was gigantic. Like it was so big. I remember just walking home and, just caught something out of the corner of my eye, and I turned. And there's a friggin' wild turkey like 2 feet from me. And I didn't know what the hell to do. So I just sort of kept walking.
So you grabbed it by the neck and you're like, ah,
It was
delicious.
Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, and I looked it up online, and there were other wild turkey sightings around the city at that point. I don't know.
I'm telling you, that had to be an escape job.
where did the turkey escape from?
Wherever they are slaughtered.
I don't know. It was so
On Thanksgiving,
so
come
big.
on.
It must
Was
have been
it a
some
man
promotion.
perhaps in a turkey suit?
No, it was like some promotion at like a used car sales lot or something like that, and it escaped.
I was gonna say, like Colin, like looked at the beer he was drinking. And he's like, oh, and he pours it out.
I
Classic.
rubbed my eyes
Yeah, exactly. And then Bindle and
threw it
go
over my
somewhere else.
shoulder. And he never drank beer again.
Back to Rat Scratch Fever, we go to Earth in the command center run by Elon Musk. I mean, Dr. Christopher Steele.
This guy is awesome. He might be one of my favorite characters because he's such a weird looking guy.
He's hamming it
wearing
up, yeah.
all of this like black like trench coat suit, hat and a hood. And you're like, what's going on with this guy?
Yeah.
And he's wearing like makeup, which you find out
like
why
pancake makeup.
later.
And that's because it's a reference to the abominable Dr. Phibes, a Vincent Price movie.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I thought he looked
Yeah.
like Marlon Brando from Island of Dr.
He does.
Moreau.
He does look like that. And that's why he kind of has a digital voice as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
they lowered his voice digitally, which I enjoyed just because it sounds funny.
Yeah.
And the hands. We got to talk about the hands.
He's got these giant metal claw hands, and one
Which
thing
he never uses as a weapon.
No, and the star filter there for some reason.
Every time.
Colin, explain to us what a star
goddamn
filter
movie
is.
has like a star glow filter on it. It's like some effect that you can put on. I think like Magic Bullet looks or something has it built in. Holy shit, every glowing thing in this control room has like a star filter on it. It looks like some cheesy Dean Martin Christmas special or something.
But the whole movie has this, correct?
Yeah, it kind of fades off. So like the first third of the movie, it's very, very heavy. And then towards the end of the movie, you don't really see any star filters anymore, but everything has this.
That's because the story's gotten real and dark.
You just got annoyed with it or something. It's like, I went too far, but I'm not going to go back and fix it.
Colin, as someone who did visual effects, how long
Yes.
would it take to render a movie like this?
I still
In
do visual effects.
2011, I think it came out, or maybe later than that.
Well, I don't know. You're probably looking at, what, NTSC resolution, so like 720 by 486.
But you wouldn't render the entire movie at once,
Not
right?
in one
You
chunk.
render it in chunks and then export it from
for
there,
like
right?
its premiere or something like that. Yeah, but
But it would probably take forever. There's so many effects in this movie.
there are so many effects.
It's true. It's nothing but effects mostly.
I can't even
like almost every shot.
Yeah, I can't, just trying to wrap my head around it is kind of just giving me a headache right now.
Although there are, as we mentioned with the giant rat heads, there's practical effects in this too. There's a lot of blood. There's blood splatter everywhere. There's some
you know what
guys
I
that
would
look
say?
like squibs.
That's the one thing this movie doesn't do is digital blood.
Oh,
Well,
thank
there is
God.
some, but like the big moments are
Oh,
practical
yeah.
blood, which makes all the difference.
It's just
Yeah.
like a fire hose of blood. It's amazing.
Every time, our main character gets possessed by the rats that are in her body, and she attacks people, and she just kind of like puts her head on their neck, and then it's just like, like
Yes,
blood,
like
like
a hose of
everywhere.
blood.
So
I mean, that's what
the
we
plot,
like to see.
As April just said, that's the plot of this movie where Christopher Steele, they want to shoot the rocket that the main woman is on. Is her name Sonia?
Sonia,
I think?
yeah.
Sonia's
Sonia,
place.
yeah. And they're like, shoot it down. But then her boyfriend, who can only be described as Sam Winchester, who was left out in the sun for too long from Supernatural.
He looks.
does look
really-
like the Supernatural
yeah, he
guy.
Does. But he looks very like if he'd fallen on hard times or something.
Yeah, like, his Supernatural years was when he was in high school and he was a high school quarterback, and it's like 15 years later.
Yeah.
And he's still holding on to those dreams.
Yeah, he's looking a little rough, and his hair he's always so sweaty, and his hair is greasy, and it's. Yeah, he's oh god.
I thought that
He's the
he did
protagonist.
look like he was at one point like an attractive leading man, but he's fallen on hard times, as you said.
Somehow he like gets into the control room, or they find him outside of this rocket base, and they let him in.
Because he has
People
to
are
talk
being
to
let
Sonia.
in all the time in this movie into tanks, into buildings.
into buildings
very
where rats
accessible.
are attacking.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are very trusting in this movie.
Yeah, so they kind of, I guess he knows what's up, or Dr. Steele, I mean, and he wants to shoot down Sonia's spaceship. And they kind of do, but she gets out in an escape pod.
Yeah, that's right.
Which crash lands.
Yeah, he tries to stop them. He's like, no, as the rockets fly towards Sonya's spaceship. But don't worry, people. She lands. She gets out of her escape pod, and the first thing that the camera does is it zooms into her stomach to show like a rat playing around in her guts. And we're like, oh, that's gross. And then she rips open her stomach to reveal the rat in her guts.
That's what I was confused. I was like, oh, I guess our character's dead.
She's dead.
No, she's perfectly fine.
You'll be saying that many times throughout the movie.
So apparently she can regenerate her.
I guess she's like a zombie
wound.
The film seems to hint that it will turn into a zombie film, and I was surprised that it never did.
Yeah, it never went there.
Almost more like a vampire film because she's like feeding off people.
So I've seen a lot of films from this director. Almost all of the ones I've seen are all about women who have supernatural powers who suck people's blood. That's like his thing. He loves that.
He knows what he likes.
Yeah.
Well, the entire base blows up. What was that?
Yes. How does that happen? I think her spaceship crashes into the base.
Yeah, it does.
Causing all the miniatures to
okay.
explode.
Yeah, I think the part that they shot down kind of crashes into the base and fucking everything. This is the first of the many explosions in this movie.
But it's just like one thing after another after
Jesus
another.
Christ! And there's like,
And they're like, I hope it doesn't hit the rocket fuel, and then cut to more explosions.
that's gone. It's like it hits the control center that they're in, and that explodes. Everything explodes. It's amazing.
I was told only today by Simon Barrett, the writer of The Guest and many other movies, that he got a copy of this movie that was more serious. That was like the festival version.
Oh, weird.
And supposedly the director went in and made it more comedic. Now, I don't know what that would be considering what the movie is.
It's
That's
not like
insane.
overtly comedic the way it is
I
now.
would say that some jokes that literally come out of nowhere, like at this point, you see like two guys in a tank and one of them's playing a rat killing game.
Yeah.
Like that would be something that would be a joke you would add much later on.
And of course, there is a rat music video later in the
Yes,
movie.
there is about a car called like the Radica, I think.
Yeah, it was. I was like, "What is this?" And Rodentia is what it was called.
Rodentia.
Apparently, they was just watching TV, and there's an unrelated commercial with singing stop motion rats on it. That had to be
very
added.
odd.
Yeah.
So we meet the many schlubby dudes who are in this movie. If I had to sum up the cast of this picture, it's very pretty women and the schlubbiest of dudes.
Yeah.
Most of them in front of green screens.
Yeah, because like the army now is after our main character, and they have like a couple of hot girls and schlubby guys, and they're all in tanks. Now we're in like the tank like video game section of the movie.
Essentially for like I think 30 minutes it's just a bunch of tanks driving around.
Yeah, and like they make it fun, but it's a little like, okay, this is like this section of the movie. It's very different from the latter half of the movie, I guess.
Because it's mostly like in the desert. There's all these miniatures going all over the place. The Rat Queen gets on one of the tanks and she kills the two people after having a flashback that wasn't really necessary of in space they found a temple and that's what unleashed all of the rats.
some kind of temple.
We do get like a full flashback.
Yeah. Well, that's good because she goes, temple, and then it cuts to the flashback. She goes, hey, I think it's a temple.
It's a temple. And it has all these like hieroglyphics on the walls and stuff that they can't decipher at the moment.
They have some good lines there where they're like, oh, maybe it was a different evolution than us. And they turned into rats.
But then they reveal the story at the end. I think Jake figures it out that at one point Martians came to Earth and kidnapped rats, took them back to Mars and experimented on them.
Made them superpowered
and gigantic. And then the rats ended up overtaking Mars and killing all the Martians.
That's a very complicated way to go about
It
that.
is. It's
Can't it just be a rat planet?
or just
that's
like,
all
you know,
need?
you bring a glowing rock or something back to Earth and, you know, rats are irradiated.
Speaking of Rat Planet, what was that other movie, Justin, where a bunch of mercenaries go to a planet and there's evil rats?
Oh my
Are you
God.
thinking of Rats Night of Terror?
Yeah,
The Italian film?
at the end, the
that is
mask.
not another planet. That is Earth, and we've irradiated it. As we were going to say, the most amazing ending of all time.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, that's
no,
right.
because I was just gonna mention it because I saw that movie I think a year ago on a stream and it kind of sucked. It was boring.
Well, that's the one I was talking about, the one where it's just like buckets are poured on people and they're like, why does it suck? Could it be perhaps that it was directed by Bruno Mattei, the man behind Shocking Dark?
Oh, no.
It had that feel to it. And
But
I mean,
even though it sucks, that ending where the heroes, they're suddenly saved by people in hazmat suits and the lead woman goes, oh, thank God, we're saved by human beings. You are human beings, aren't you?
and then they take the mask off and it's a rat face. Which is very, very silly.
Oh, that's so good.
Give Planet of the Apes ending a run for its money.
Yep. Planet of the what? Planet of the Rats.
Rats.
So we're in the tank part. There's a bunch of tank stuff that happens.
This is
the
really
main
good.
Tank guy is Jeff Burr, the director of a Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, Puppet Master 4 and 5, Pumpkinhead 2, and tons of other, a Stepfather 2 as well.
One of the tank drivers, you said?
Yeah, the main tank guy that, they get into a duel, like that's the last tank part, where they keep throwing insane one-liners at each other, where they're like, boom, boom goes the dynamite, or whatever.
He's like,
Daddy's got a big missile for you.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I think it would be maybe topical if it was boom goes the dynamite, but it's boom, boom, out goes the lights. And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, it wasn't even boom goes.
They were trying to come up with another catchphrase. And the other guy, the sort of like bigger bald guy who was in Amazing Bulk.
All the Amazing Bulk guys.
Have you seen The Amazing Bulk, Justin?
No, I haven't. I've seen clips, and I'm like, I get it.
Yeah. Amazing Bulk is famously one of the movies that Colin reviewed on his first appearance on Red Letter Media on Best of the Worst.
It's really bad.
Years and years ago.
Well, it was Amazing Bulk, and then I think we watched V World Matrix, which is almost
that
unwatchable.
movie's really bad. I've seen that
so
one.
bad.
And of course Jim Cotta, which is an amazing movie.
Yeah,
classic. But Amazing Bulk, I kind of feel like I get it. I don't want to sit through that whole movie.
It sounds better than it is.
It doesn't sound good at all.
But it's also a joke. That's one that's like that uncomfortable territory by like it's bad and they know it doesn't look great, but it's also shitty and boring.
And they're trying to make fun of it.
And all the jokes just fall flat, and you're just like, oh god, this is terrible. It's so boring.
Well, back to Rat Scratch Fever, though. After that big tank battle that we get, there's a weird shot of like an airplane driven by twins. I'm like, what's going on?
Oh, it's like some big Hercules airplane taking off from a runway, and then she gets in the tank and just blows it out of the sky.
Was that
it's really
airplane
weird.
CGI?
I can't remember.
I remember thinking, was that CGI? But I mean, who knows, right?
Who can tell in this movie?
It's true.
Yeah, because they do. Jeff does some weird things where it's like a miniature shot on 16mm tank, but then for some reason he felt the need to like CGI insert the actor in the front window.
Yeah, so they're in the cockpit and they're kind of like badly tracked onto the
Speaking
cockpit.
Of Amazing Bulk, I mean that's kind of what it looked like. Yeah.
And it's like, duh, don't ruin your 16mm shot with that. Just leave it as it is.
Yeah, you don't even need those people in the cockpit at all. It looks great.
During a test screening, like people's main note was like, who is driving these tanks? This makes no sense. Please explain it through visual effects.
Oh.
Well, as far as the narrative goes, it's important to note that our hero, Sonia, is like, she's being slowly taken over by the rats. So she's like trying to stop herself. She shoots herself in the head, actually. Mm-hmm. But she's like half trying to stop herself because she knows she's an evil killer, and half trying to move forward and, take over the world, I guess. So.
It's like think of Ratatouille, except instead of hiding in the guy's chef's hat, the rat is inside of her skull.
And she does scream, "Get out of my head!" And there's literally a rat in her head.
Yeah. So it's like she tries to shoot her head, but she doesn't die. So then her, as the rat queen, like puts a hat on.
Yeah, she's got this sort of it's like a badly tracked on, head effect on the side of her head. So she throws on a hat to hide it for the rest of the movie.
And the hat says, isn't it Steel Space Force or something like that?
I think it's like
Steel
Space Corps, like SSC or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is when we get to the best location of the movie, Sonia's place.
It is the best location of the movie.
We had a debate about what this was, because he doesn't say until later. What's his name?
Jake.
Jake.
He doesn't say until later, I bought this bar for us so we can open a bar. So I was like, they shot this in a bar, but it's
No,
supposed
they
to be
didn't.
his
This
house.
is definitely like his garage or
but
basement.
you don't find they don't pull out until later that okay, it's not a bar at all.
No,
it's
this
just
looks
an
like-
ugly room.
It's supposed to be a bar, and
What's crazy about that room too, or slash bar, is that it seems like it's in the desert, and then it's revealed at the end of the movie it's in the middle of the city.
Middle of the
And
city.
you're like, wait a minute.
it looks like somebody's living room or a motel room that they've rented. And
Yes.
they've spray painted the walls green and just painted on the walls Sonia's place. And they have these like bar stools kind of stacked up in the corner.
Yeah,
A
and
lot of
empty kegs.
Empty kegs. And okay, so in one of our storage closets here, we've got these like Amazon wire racks, like these kind of shelves that
for
you
like
can buy.
cleaning supplies.
Yeah, you just like buy them for $20, screw them to the wall. They have the exact same one behind the bar on the wall.
And they put the booze bottles in there
Yeah, there's
as if that was where they were going to keep them.
But
at
it's
this
so
bar.
small that it's only got about 6 booze bottles in it, and it's just in the center of this big wall.
Do you go to the theater to see reality on stage? No, you
Yes.
go for feeling.
Yes,
And
I
there's
do.
like a
Move
shitty
delivers.
couch, which is, I guess, where he sleeps. It just looks like a nightmare of a place to live.
It looks like the porn studio that they shot the Planet X stuff from at the beginning.
It's worse. Than
Yeah,
that.
maybe it is. That would make
Who
sense.
knows?
Well, before we get there, Jake needs to save Sonia, and he does so by knocking a guy out who's like, I was just following orders. I don't have a choice. And then Jake goes, well, I do have a choice, and I choose payback. And he like knocks the guy out.
Some great one-liners in this movie. I mean,
classic.
you can't have a movie like this without it.
In that sequence, we also get the most impractical rocket launcher ever. That's like just a giant tube.
It is enormous.
Like a giant tube.
Yeah, it's insane.
And they're carrying around these rocket launchers throughout the whole movie, and it's like a piece of plastic piping, basically.
It's gigantic. Like the diameter must be like
but it's
10 inches.
It's so light. Like you can tell it's how
And
light
you
it
see
is.
right through it, too.
They're using it like a
Exactly.
pistol. Like they're shooting things that are 6 feet away from them.
At one point, like, a soldier attacks Jake, and the woman raises her rocket launcher to shoot them. And the other guy's like, no, don't. It's like, yeah, because you're going to blow them both up.
It's like Hard Ticket to Hawaii, you know, when they shoot the snake at the end from like
You know what?
5
That's
feet
exactly
away.
what it looks like. So back to Sonia's place,
Oh
which
my
is
God.
scribbled on the wall in what looks like crayon.
It's actually, yeah, it's painted on the wall, like, you know, by somebody's child. And then also on the front door, you know, which
there, too.
is not the front door of a bar. It is clearly somebody's living room. It's also written on the back of the door. So the one, the inside.
You know what? Because
part
they
of
were
the
like,
door.
we're not going to shoot the outside. We're shooting the inside.
Or they're probably like, you know, the neighbors are going to complain if we paint.
Yeah, if we make too much noise, if they can look through our windows and it looks like a real bar
Or
of
if,
some
yeah,
kind.
if we paint Sonia's place on the outside.
Well, how many times have you walked into a bar and you're like, where am I? And you look at the door that you just walked
No.
into. Oh.
Yeah, where am I?
you
Wait,
want
where
me
did
to
I just spend
honestly
the last
answer that
hour?
question?
And on your way out, you're like, of course, to remind you as you go out through the door.
I've walked into a bar many times and thought, where am I?
I've also done that too
And out
because
of them.
sometimes the sign is not clear from the outside.
Are you going to like underground, like speakeasies, April? And that's why 'cause,
These small
you know,
bars,
alcohol is banned.
These small bars in Toronto, with their complicated signs, you can't always see where you're going.
So we meet, I think, the best character in the movie here, who's drunk behind the bar because he came to install an alarm, is what he says later on.
Yeah, but-
And that's our good friend Teddy.
They have a big scene before he's even discovered behind the bar. And I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that Jake was standing behind the bar like a few minutes earlier.
I guess he was sleeping. So this is like
he was
Jake's
in a very
friend?
small ball.
Jake's landlord.
I think,
I think it's his friend. I don't know.
probably the guy who owned
He's
the
a
living room.
miserable drunk who is
Yes.
helping him set up this bar. It seems like him and Jake are just getting wasted in this disgusting 4x4 room.
Well, as we see later, all the beer kegs are empty.
So, Jake, where is he going? Oh, I think he's going to go see Dr. Steele, right?
because he realizes something is wrong. Obviously, was it before this that he cuts his wrist so she can feed on him?
No, that's afterwards
Okay.
because he leaves to go see or he goes and does something, and then he tells Teddy, stay with Sonia. Make sure that she doesn't get out and nobody gets in. And Teddy's like, okay, no problem, boss. And then instantly stuff goes dark.
Yeah. And I mean, this scene reminded me a lot of the mom in The Room. I definitely have breast cancer because he's trying.
Yeah.
But this dialogue is
So
awful.
he's like, Sonia, you look like crap. Oh, no, actually, I think he starts with, hey, Sonia, can you clean this up a little bit?
Yeah. She's like, half passed out and she's bloody and disgusting.
And doesn't he's trying to get her to take her hat off? Hey,
Yeah,
why
he's
are you
like,
wearing
take
that
your
hat
hat off. You look like shit.
What do you have, something growing under there? And she says, yes, I do. And he immediately
He jumps to the conclusion
that she has a brain tumor. And he goes, cancer. It'll eat you right up.
That cancer.
Yeah, because she keeps saying, I'm empty on the inside. I'm empty on the inside. Because she means it literally, while Teddy, being the good man that he is taking it metaphorically.
And he's like consoling her.
He just takes it in stride.
Yeah, how you got to stay strong.
You don't want to die. You got to stay positive.
No, he says the worst thing he could say, which is, you got to do anything to survive.
Exactly.
And like he was doing a wish and wishmaster. This blows up in his face.
That's such a trope in any movie or TV show.
She goes,
anything.
Because she goes, anything? And he goes, yeah, you got to do anything. And then she goes, I guess I will take this cap off. And then like any gentleman, Teddy goes, let me help you with that.
And man, does
it's all stuck in your hair.
Yeah, it's like this slimy KY jelly. And it
He's
takes
like, it's all tangled. He like kind of wrestles with it for like 30 seconds.
It takes him forever to get this hat off. And he's commenting the entire way. Oh, you got something stuck there. What's that?
That's a good improv actor.
Oh, yeah. It's like, fill out the time. Pat it out.
Yeah, he's a real Second City vet.
And then there's this scene where her head just completely flops apart. And
That's great.
It's a very neat, very poorly done special effect.
I don't know. It looks
like the
works
eyes
for me.
are like copy and pasted down where her cheeks are. It's on Justin's Twitter if you want to see what this shot is.
It's really
I
funny.
like how Teddy, like his reaction isn't just like abject horror. It's more like, hey, no, don't come over here.
He's more like, hey, what are you doing?
Hey, no.
Yeah, there's a lot of POV shots in this movie too.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention
Rat POV, where they do some kind of like
all
lens
kinds of
distortion.
Yeah, where it's like a wide angle kind of. That's fun. Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't have a red filter thrown on it, which is the biggest trope of a POV monster that you can get.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think, Jake comes back from wherever he was. Don't remember. And this is another really funny scene where he sees Teddy covered in blood, just all over the place. He's like, what happened? And she's like,
I don't know.
Oh my God. I think Teddy tripped and fell.
He must have cut himself on the glass.
He goes, there's freaking blood everywhere.
He's all over the wall.
Yeah.
But then she convinces him and he's like, Teddy, you friggin' drunk.
Well, he's like, you didn't hear anything? And she goes, no.
I just woke up now.
Yep.
He's very
And he's like, Teddy, what are you doing? But then right away, after she makes him believe that, she's like, okay, Jake, I need your blood.
Yeah, she goes, I need to feed on blood.
Yeah.
And he begrudgingly agrees.
Wait a minute. Are you trying to say that Teddy didn't trip and fall and cut himself on a bottle?
Yeah, he cuts his wrist and she starts drinking. I mean, that's a red flag right there. If a girl asks to drink your blood.
Yeah, and then does she
maybe Army Hammer
escape?
would be into that, but...
Oh, God.
Ooh, topical.
The less said about that guy, the better. But does she
escape?
Well,
I don't remember. I'm getting all mixed up here.
She may have stayed in the room, and this is when he goes and talks to Dr. Steele, but then it's intercut with her finding that drug dealer and luring him away and killing him.
Which the drug dealer has the greatest line. It's like, that dime bag you sold me was weak. What can I say? Bad supply.
Yeah.
Come back next week.
And another thing that I like about this movie, multiple things I like this week, I like the editing because it'll sometimes do this cross-cutting thing, which is not the norm for, low-budget B movies.
It actually requires some effort.
Yeah, it classed it up a bit.
Planning as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that you can't just do it in the edit. You shot it knowing that you could do that. What's funny about this is, like, I've seen some of his earlier films, like Eyes of the Werewolf and Hell's Highway, and while those have some really fun parts to them, they're like Polonia level on a technical side. Okay. So, like, he's definitely been, like, figuring stuff out as he's been able to make as many movies as he has.
For those who don't know who the Polonia brothers are, they did previous episodes Splatter Farm and Feeders 2, Sleigh Bells.
Sleigh Bells.
And Feeders 1, obviously. But check them out because they're good, but they're on a different kind of level of low budget home video kind of homemade
I mean,
movie,
this
backyard
is-
movie.
This is definitely one of those movies where I can't say anything about it is lazy. Maybe the
that's right. Yeah.
maybe the art direction and the set design, that sort of thing is, but whatever.
I think the argument that the director would make would be like, why would I make it any slicker or spend that much more time on it? Because I know who my audience
yeah,
is.
you're putting all the effort into the miniatures, especially this end scene, which has to be my favorite
I think
thing.
it's like excitement versus slickness.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It doesn't
Like,
matter that-
Slickness will get you into a film festival, and your movie can still suck.
Exactly. You just-
well, excitement, you'll get denied, but it's more fun for people watching.
yeah, just paint the walls green, write Sonia's place. Now it's a bar.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as like
Put a wire rack
as
on
far
the
as
wall.
like film festivals go, I could totally see this playing at your film festival, Justin.
Oh,
What
yes,
the film
definitely.
fest, like
100%.
this would have fit right in.
Yeah.
But I would argue that, like, if somebody played it at Midnight Madness, the audience would eat it up anyway, compared to some of the movies that play
Oh,
there
yeah.
in the past years that I've been.
It's crazy. Like,
It's an
it just gets
exciting
so crazy.
crowd pleaser for a certain type of crowd, but like I was like, this is a B movie. I wouldn't call it a bad movie.
No,
Wouldn't you say it's an R movie for Rat?
Rated R.
Rated R. I do like, we were talking about, I think in a previous episode, about things that I like about, I think it was Fight of Fury, where, you've got the sort of millionaire sort of bad guy, and they're supposed to be at this huge mansion, but you just don't have the budget. So you kind of shoot it at grandma's place because she's got, a gold chandelier.
Definitely Grandma's place.
Well, this movie had like rich old grandma's house because it was a big fancy house that doesn't look like anyone had lived there in 100 years.
Yeah, or just the person that lived there was like 100 years old.
Dr. Steele's house.
You
we're
know
talking
that
about.
it's old because there's like real big frilly drapes and like candelabras all over the
Everything.
place.
It looks like, I don't know, like a room in like Nicolas Cage's house or something.
And we get there because Jake goes and confronts Dr. Steele.
And we see what's behind the mask. He's really the
Yeah.
Phantom of the Opera.
That's right. He
of.
just got like no skin and he wears makeup instead.
Does he say that he lost his skin in a war with the rats?
No, it was like somebody else says he got it in like a rocket accident or something like that.
Okay, unrelated.
That's why Elon Musk looks the way that he does.
Yeah, he actually peels his face off. It was
Yep,
burned
every night.
Yeah, the
underneath.
face comes.
Grimes
Yeah,
does
the
it
face
for him.
comes off.
It was a
Anyway,
horrible battery burn.
Yeah, so he has a confrontation with Jake, and they're just talking about how she's gonna kill the world, and he knew all along. He's been trying to stop her, and again, this house is bizarre.
It is so. It was.
It's like this was the director's. Someone the director knew.
It's the most hideous interior design.
It's
And
so
it
old-fashioned.
has to be an
It's
old
all-
person's house.
Like purple as well.
Oh, it's just gross. Everything about it is disgusting, and you can
think it's
see
interesting.
they're kind of like wrestling, or they're getting into
Yeah.
an altercation, but you can tell they've been given direction. It's like, do not break
They
grandma's.
can't mess anything.
Don't mess anything up.
Yeah.
Don't fall into like any pictures.
They were in
or-
like the front foyer, I think,
Yeah.
having that little confrontation.
Well, the living room is like has tile floor.
that wasn't the
It
living
could
room.
be like a bed and breakfast as well, because those
Yeah.
have like big old houses that people can shoot
That's
in.
what I was also thinking. I was like, is this a museum? Like, does someone live here? Like,
Yeah, Jeff Leroy. He's from old money. That's why he lives in the... No, I don't know. But in this scene, Jake shoots Dr. Steele, and you're like, oh no, Dr. Steele's already dead? No, it was just a very complicated con.
Yeah, why did they even
to put
do
a
this?
tracker on Jake.
I don't know.
Yeah, they
he
only-
put blanks in the gun, hoping that he would shoot him and think he was dead.
Yes.
Yeah, the only goal was to get a tracker on Jake's car, so then they could follow him back to.
Like, there was no other way to do that than Dr. Steele faking his own death?
Like they could have just done it while he was inside talking with him. He didn't have to shoot him.
I
Doesn't make
mean,
any sense.
well-
they just want to get the location of Sonia's place because they heard so many good things about it.
yeah, it's the newest hotspot.
Well, we saw the Yelp reviews for Sonia's place.
Yeah, it's the new
Can't wait to check
place
it
in
out.
I
town.
got 6 bottles of booze.
One of those hipster bars,
The new
you know?
cold tea.
It's a minimalist place.
Hope you like empty beer kegs.
So I looked at the time at this point, and this is when it's all rat action all the
Jesus
time.
Christ.
And there's 18 minutes left of the movie.
This is insane. Okay, and like I said before, this is my favorite part because it is insane. Like up to this point, the movie's been, very quickly paced. From here on in, it just ratchets up. Don't
Don't you mean it rat sits up.
That's what he.
I tried my best.
I will say though that the movie felt a little too long. It's an hour and a half. I feel like it could have been 10 minutes shorter.
Yeah, there was maybe like a saggy middle, I think.
Well,
Maybe
probably the scene where they're in the tanks for a long time.
Yeah.
And I love everything at the end, but it just keeps
It goes
going.
on
Yeah.
and
And
on.
you're just like,
and
are they
on.
gonna like? And then it turns into like a zombie movie.
if you
basically.
tighten it up just a little bit in the middle, this movie is God.
it needs to be like
I
70
feel like a movie like this
minutes.
could be an hour 15.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You wouldn't miss
no
too
one's
much.
gonna
like,
have an issue with that.
do you need that flashback to show how they found the rats? I don't think so. I think we
You
got
need
it.
to know that it's a temple.
Even though I didn't point out that scene has an amazing, inexplicable moment where somebody gets pinned under a sarcophagus
Yeah.
and they shoot her in the leg.
Yeah, they shoot her leg off, but then everybody dies anyway.
Yep.
I was like, "What's?" They're like, "Go back to the
And she's like,
the spaceship."
no, and he shoots her.
Shoots the leg off.
But anyway, so the director built this beautiful miniature city.
It is crazy.
Like downtown LA. And
It's crazy.
lets loose a bunch of rats over it with all these miniature cars, and it just looks great.
First of all, he wires the entire thing with like many explosions.
Well, there's fake
But
explosions
we should point out
too.
the rats are never caught in those explosions.
No, and I was like, no rats better not have been hurt during
I don't
this
know.
movie, and it said in the credits they weren't hurt.
They could say that in any credits.
There's a cat. in
Yeah,
this
there's
too.
definitely not like a animal rights
Yeah, the
person that was
humane
around
side.
the set.
I refuse
I think
to
the only
believe.
shot that made me go, is there's a shot of like a rat riding like a little remote controlled car.
There's no way he would hurt.
It's like something out of Hammy Hamster or something. that TV
Hammy
show.
Hamster.
Do you
I remember
that?
that show.
I mean, Hammy Hamster, they definitely killed more animals than Wishbone
You know how many
did.
GPs?
And Wishbone killed a lot.
No, they didn't kill any.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
they killed the dog at the end of every Wishbone.
there are some shots in here where machine guns are going off and they have like squibs. It looks like placed in the floor and the rats are like scattering.
No, but you know what? Someone could go through it and go. But there's a lot of like CGI pasted rats like flying through the air.
There's
Yeah, it's
also
true.
like explosions superimposed onto the screen.
Yes, a lot of explosions superimposed on the screen.
They have a fire flame just like at half opacity just in front of the scene. But like
He's like, I paid for Action Essentials too, and I'm going to use every single
but
effect.
like it's cutting all over the place and moving, so you're not just
Yeah.
like looking at like a
There-
miniature set. It's just it makes you kind of buy it.
It's like
you
I'm
know?
saying, you're so overwhelmed, like you can't, before you have an issue with a shot, you've already moved on to 10 more shots. And one of the funny things is, I guess like you're buying models of stuff of like police cars and fire trucks, but they're at different scales. So,
Yeah.
so they'll have like a,
Colin, it's because the rats are all different sizes. They're not just one
no, I mean the
size.
cars are. So you'll see like a
Oh,
a fire
yeah.
truck in an alleyway, and you look at the scale of
A fire truck in an alleyway.
yeah, but you see the scale of like the brickwork on the wall, and it's like God. And then the fire truck is really tiny, so these bricks would be huge. And
And
one
then-
one car is like way bigger than the other.
Wasn't Jake standing in the city and he was
Yeah.
like taller than a phone booth?
Yeah, he's taller than like a fire truck. It's so funny, but
It's very cute.
it's just so overwhelming, and you just like want to stand up and applaud. You're like, my God, really pulled out all the stuff.
artistry.
You did it.
You did it, you crazy bastard.
So, like, in this big climactic sequence, Dr. Steele shows up in a, like, battle tank and starts, like, blowing, I guess the rats off some kind of Empire State style building.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
And it's just like 18 minutes of people shooting rats.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, and then, like, the rats break into Dr. Steele's tank, they rip his skin off. My only
My
weakness.
face. Yeah, that was a pretty funny moment.
Yeah, it's like Ripley showing up at the end of Aliens and like the power loader. It's like, come on.
Well,
Yeah,
Doesn't use his
come on.
claws.
so
at all.
they end up getting barricaded in Sonia's place. And
Yes, well, so a bunch of army men, which we didn't mention, who are throughout the film,
Yeah.
a man and a woman, show up at Jake's place, as well as two random women who exist only to die and to get ripped apart.
yeah, so remember that shot where the woman turns into a dummy and is completely ripped
yes,
apart?
that's the
clever.
shot, yes.
Was that one of those random girls?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that character.
Or maybe it was one of the army girls. Yeah, that shot is amazing because it's a dummy gets ripped apart, but he superimposed the face of the actor.
Yeah, it
It's
happened
great.
so well. I was just like, whoa.
It's like something out of Dead Alive. It's really well done.
Yes.
And one of my favorite shots in the movie that I laughed so hard at was this toddler getting dragged away.
Oh, so good.
It is like a real, somebody is actually dragging a toddler
And the
on the
kid's
ground.
crying.
And there's a big trail of blood behind it.
The kid is not crying. The kid looks bemused.
Okay, well, his mouth
But you
was
hear
open.
the soundtrack of a kid crying.
Well, maybe he was laughing, but I thought it looked like he was crying.
And then it like cuts to a puppet rat eating this like puppet like child, I think, or something. And then a cat gets killed at some point.
They always do this in rat movies.
No, well, because earlier in the movie, you saw a cat kill a rat.
Yeah.
Remember
Or it's like a
when
little
Teddy
mouse.
gets killed?
It was a mouse, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a real mouse or not. I wasn't
looked like a
sure.
real-
No. It looks like a little toy if you just like freeze
The
frame
mouse
it.
wasn't moving.
And that baby pays off a couple minutes later when one of the women that entered the bar goes, "My baby, my baby!"
Yeah.
And Jake goes, "Your baby is dead."
And then hands her a gun.
That we saw that baby.
Yeah, he hands her a machine gun.
Yeah, and then the movie again it turns into like Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
and it's like Jake and who else? Some other guy.
It's the army man.
Some
One of the-
army
Which
dude.
one of the
I think it's the
army
guy that he
guys.
hit on the head earlier
Yeah,
and said,
Yeah,
"Payback."
where he's like, "My choice is payback."
keeps saying like, "I don't like you."
but hey, what happened to Sonia?
Oh, she got blown up by a rocket launcher by one of the army
I don't
dudes.
remember.
Oops.
And she exploded probably in a
Yeah,
bunch
the
of
first time I
rats.
watched it, it passed by real fast.
Yeah.
And then later on, he takes what is now a sex doll dummy without a head.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Jake throws it out the window, and he's like, "Water, water! Here, take your water."
Yeah, I remember that. I was like, that's a sex doll.
Yeah, that was pretty
It's a
funny.
dummy.
Well, like I'm saying, it was shooting in a porn
The porn
studio.
connection.
Just
yeah.
lying around in the hallways.
Oh God! And then at the end of the movie, I think it's like everybody gets killed. Army Dude and Jake are up against the bar, and they're like, "I got one grenade left." And then they've been holding onto this line for the entire movie. The army man sticks the grenade in a giant rat puppet's head mouse and goes, "Say cheese." But then the grenade doesn't go off. The army man's like, "Ah!"
He's
Like
getting
blood
bitten.
shoots out.
It's like chewing his arm
Like he
off.
did not time it very well.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
And I think what happens at the end?
Oh, an explosion goes off, blowing up Sonia's place, almost as if it was made of styrofoam and,
Oh yeah, Jake steps
and
outside.
thin pieces of wood.
Well,
Yeah.
the rats
And-
at one point kill those two girls. They break through the wall, and the wall is
Yeah.
clearly
Oh, that's right.
styrofoam.
They're doing a Day of the Animal, and like the rats are breaking through
Yeah,
walls.
it
and
looked
stuff
like
that.
Rise of the Animals.
It's so cheap. You could just tell it's styrofoam, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Yeah, and then he comes outside, and isn't he like lighting up a cigar? It's like the end of like an Evil Dead movie or something. He's like, "Ah!"
Yeah, well, we skipped the most important element, which is the very sarcastic Kent Brockman-like news.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, the
That
recurring
just,
character.
We cut to him like throughout the movie. That was funny.
Yeah.
That was a comedy that could, like you said, could have been cut into the movie.
Yeah, where he's like, "Better hide your cheese," and then you see like a map of all the states, and there's like rats on them. And then in the final newscast, they're like, "The state capital has been," or like,
And he's like, "Oh, they're heading to the
Washington.
Santa Clarita area. Wait a minute, that's where my house is." And then he
and they blow up the White House at the end, where there's like it's infested with rats.
yeah. I mean, I can't remember the exact very ending of this movie, but that's
I think it just ends with the guy like laughing, and like the rats have won, and the world is on fire.
Yeah, it's
a real rat apocalypse.
It's like a 70s sci-fi movie or something. Really downer ending. I love it.
yeah.
I look forward to the mad. Or no, what would it be? The Rat Warrior, the part 2,
Yeah.
where the rats have also evolved into like Frogtown style creatures.
Oh God, that'd be amazing.
Although I like that. I mean, I don't want to see another post-apocalyptic rat movie. There's plenty of those. This was
Yeah.
different. It came from space. I like that.
it's
you
great.
know,
It
it's
changes
about the
gears so many
downfall.
times throughout the movie, though. And this ending, oh God,
It
it's so
had
good.
it had care and it had some style. It's a very low budget B movie, but it's a fun movie.
And there's a lot of work put into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like clearly the director loves making these models, and he could have cheaped out and done it some other way, but this was actually so fun to watch. Like the end part especially.
Yeah, and so this movie is available on Vimeo, and we bought it for $3.94 Canadian.
So there's a deleted scene with Edward Furlong. Did you guys watch that?
No, but I saw that there were deleted scenes and trailers on Vimeo,
Yes.
but I didn't watch any of them.
You're kidding.
I feel like it's probably like Edward Furlong, like at a convention somewhere, being like, "Oh, look at the rats."
We'll have to check it
or
out.
like he probably shows up right at the end, like a T2 style, like post-apocalyptic ending.
Or the end
but...
of was it Battle Angel Alita?
Oh, I mean that was Edward Furlong. That was what's his name?
Edward
The
Furlong.
person that nobody likes. That was the Hulk.
Edward Furlong wasn't in Battle Angel Alita.
Oh shit! I'm talking about Ed Norton.
No. Yeah, Ed Norton. That's
There's
what
a
you're
bit of a
thinking
difference.
Yeah, the reveal at Battle Angel Alita at the end is so funny because like this guy's been wearing a mask the entire time, and he takes it off, and it's
Ed Norton.
and as if people are gonna be like, "Holy shit!" as
Exactly.
opposed to like, "What?"
As if he's somebody's mom going, "Is that Ed Norton?"
Anyway,
It's a
this
guy from
movie,
Voidman.
Rat of the Apocalypse, Rat Scratch Fever, available on Vimeo. You can also rent it for, I think, $2.
April
like
April was
$1 or
going back
something
and
like
forth.
that.
She's like,
Should I rent it?
should I rent it or should we buy it for $3 or rent it for $1?
$4 Canadian,
Oh my gosh!
which is probably even cheaper American.
Well, now we own it.
I don't know if this is available on. I'm sure there's a DVD or out there somewhere.
It's hard to find. You can Google it.
really?
I found it eventually on IMDb, but if you Google Rat Scratch Fever, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, Justin, where did you first hear about this? Just like in the bad movie scene?
Yeah, just in the grapevine. I had heard about some earlier movies that he made. My friend Adam, the Riot Thorn, is a big fan of Eyes of the Werewolf, which is really famous because there's a recycled shot of the werewolf like eating, like nom nom nom, that's repeated like 20 times in the movie. So
Love
that
it.
was a big touchstone for us. And I had also seen Hell's Highway, which is one from 2002 that is infamous as one of the movies that appears on like those 30 movie horror packs all the time.
Nice. Well, yeah, I mean, I encourage, what's the director's name?
Jeff Leroy.
I encourage our listeners to definitely check this out, but check out maybe some of his other movies if you like what you see.
He has one that's like They Live called Psychon Invaders that he made 6 years before this.
Psychon Invaders.
Yep.
Okay, well, that's it for Rat Scratch Fever. I keep not remembering what the name of this movie is, but
Maybe it's because you got the
I've
fever.
got the fever,
The
you
rat
guys.
scratch fever.
So if you want to email the podcast, we're at nosuchthingasabadmovie@gmail.com. And we're on Twitter at nosuchthingpod. And if you want to support us on Patreon, patreon.com/nosuchthingasabadmovie. At the $5 level, you'll get a bonus episode every 2 weeks. And we just recorded one on kind of about Bad Boys for Life. The only movie that came out
much.
this year. So it's going to win all the Oscars. Right, guys?
That and Trolls World Tour.
It's going to be that and Sonic the Hedgehog. Thank you very much.
Oh, wait. What else came out?
Well, lots of stuff, but
Trolls World.
Bad
Yes.
Boys, I think, is the third most successful movie because it played in theaters in 2020.
Right. What about Tenet?
Well, it didn't come out till after the pandemic, so I'm pretty sure it didn't do as well. But I'm not looking at the figures.
Tenet came out during the pandemic.
I know Bad Boys was before, so it got like a normal box office.
So you're saying that Bad Boys was the cause of the pandemic?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Whoa, just thinking about that, Bad Boys for Life may have been the last film that I saw, like new film theatrically.
Wow.
Yeah, my last one was Invisible Man, as was
Yeah.
a lot of people's last movie that they saw in theaters.
Yeah, that was kind of like the transition point when everything hit and then that started playing on VOD.
Yeah. If you're a Patreon subscriber at the $2 level or up, you also can be submitted into our Bad Movie Lottery to pick an episode, which is probably coming out next week, next 2 weeks. Or we could do maybe we could do a FAQ. Is that what it's called? A Q&A.
Didn't we do that as a Patreon episode, or do we do that as a normal episode?
We
I
did
forget.
both. I'm not sure yet, but yeah, so next week maybe we'll do a Q&A, or maybe it will be the listener request episode. But if you want to be submitted in that draw, you don't have to do anything. Just be a Patreon subscriber at the $2 level and up, and we'll do the rest. Justin.
My turn to talk now? Yeah. So you can follow me at DeCluJ on Twitter, DECLOUX, letter J. I'm also on Letterboxd, Justin DeClue. Every week on the Important Cinema Club, the Basic Video Podcast, the Star Wars Podcast, and No Such Thing as a Bad Movie, which is what you're listening to right now.
That's right, and you're on YouTube.
Also, what? Oh, yeah, I'm on YouTube now. I make videos because that's what the kids do, right?
That's right. I was going to tell you, Justin, you need to get a ring light, but then I was like, oh no, it'll reflect off your glasses.
Yeah, I can't because it'll reflect off my glasses, unfortunately.
Oh, you just dull your glasses down with some hairspray.
You can follow me on YouTube. It's Film Trap.
Yes, Film Trap, youtube.com.
You can follow me on Twitter, Sergeant Zima, SGTZIMA.
And that's it. That's all we got, ladies and gentlemen. But thank you for listening, and watch out for those rats out there. I mean, rats are adorable.
Hide your cheese.
If you find a rat, I mean, I know they can be horrible pests, but don't kill them. Try and trap them humanely. Get your rats spayed and neutered.
Oh my God.
I'm April Admansky.
I'm Justin DeClue.
I'm Colin Cunningham.
And remember, there ain't no such thing as a bad movie.
Why did you mix it up this time?
Oh my God, like April's having a stroke at the end of
the episode. Like that.
Wow. She's so excited from Rat Scratch Fever.
I can't wait to eat that cheese that arrived during the episode.
It's true. You know who else can't wait to eat it?
Rats?
No, me.
Oh.